What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more Duran Duran. And we're going back to their 1989 concert at the Apollo in Manchester. And we're going to listen to Duran perform a Power Station tune. We're going to listen to them perform Get It On, Bang a Gong. It does remind me, I had always intended to go back and react to the bonus tunes on my copy of the Power Station album, but I think shortly after I reacted to the final tune on the regular part of the album, I think I started a number of other deep dives, and that was the beginning of a lot of the, sort of musical journeys expanding. And I just sort of forgot to go back to it, but this is a good reminder. I do intend to go back and listen to the remaining bonus tracks, so we'll do that soon. But in the meantime, we'll listen to Duran perform a Power Station tune. It's interesting, Power Station, many of you have informed me, but for anyone not familiar, Andy Taylor and John Taylor of Duran went and joined Tony Thompson of Chic and Robert Palmer. I believe after the first album the plan was to do another one, but I think John Taylor left, and so they weren't able to record right away, and then I think eventually, is it Bernard Edwards? I think that's right, who I think was also in Chic, he stepped in and he took over bass, so they did eventually put out another album, I think years later. But yeah, I think shortly after that they sort of disbanded completely. So ultimately, I am intrigued by their sound, much more like percussive, kind of booming sound than a lot of Duran tunes. Not that Duran tunes don't have like percussive power, but ultimately that album just, loud drums, like loud guitars, loud bass, just a real sort of powerful kind of booming sound, and a sort of, I don't know, maybe rock jazz, certainly like a rock sound with some, jazzy kind of elements. So I'm curious to hear how this will sound a few years after the Power Station album in the hands of a reformed Duran, admittedly, not with Andy. But yeah, I'm just curious how this will sound in their hands and with Simon's voice. So ultimately, let's get it. This is Duran Duran. The tune is Bang a Gong, or sorry, Get It On, Bang a Gong. And this is heard on the 1989 live performance at the Apollo in Manchester by Duran Duran. Sort of like, you got the crowd in the palm and you're just waiting. Ugh. Like an old friend every time I hear the sax. What is Warren doing?
swallow you. Oh, you feel like a car, you got a hook and dinosaur. Yes, you're my girl. Let it on, when you're gone, get it on.
That's sad. Unbelievable. Oh yeah, right. They're gonna talk. Oh, see, now they cut it differently just to play with me. But it's funny. It's like it's almost like was it Notorious or was it? I think it was Notorious, where I felt like for the first couple minutes it wasn't mightily different from the studio version. It wasn't like really extending or expanding anything. It was cool, but then by the end of Notorious there was that extra bit. And I really felt like that pushed it to another level. This was kind of the same thing. I was actually going to say at first, or I was thinking that at the end, I'm going to say that Simon's voice felt a little buried in the mix. And I was thinking like, big booming percussion, loud sort of sounds on the Power Station album. I was feeling like they're sort of doing that true to the Power Station original, but it makes me feel like Simon's voice is getting buried by everything. Then as the tune went on, I felt like the dynamic performance really picked up, and then Simon's voice started getting more forceful, and by the end it felt like they were taking the tune to a new level and adding something extra to it. So yeah, it was sort of the same experience where I was going to say like, okay, like maybe a B performance of the tune, and then by the end it's like, no, that's an A performance. That was dope. So yeah, really cool. I enjoyed especially, as I said, the saxophone. There's no point in my musical life where I'm going to hear a sax and not at least be intrigued that it exists in the song. Now maybe some sax writing or perhaps some sax playing won't be quite as masterful as other writing or playing, but at the end of the day, like, I'll give a sax a chance in any tune. So yeah, like I said, one of the things that I enjoyed the most about the Power Station album, the proper part of the album that I've listened to, was the brass work, and I'm thinking of especially Murderous, like that tune, the sort of like deep, kind of like funky saxophone, kind of like staccato, I don't know if it's like essentially like a melodic line or almost like function like a bass, I feel like. Either way, I remember the saxophone in that tune like really standing out to me. So I do enjoy the fact that, if you're going to do a Power Station song, you got to have someone good on the sax. So anyway, let me know what you think of this one. I will see you next time. Peace.